guys, this is OzoneTCG. We have Zohair Khan with his top four finish at the Planet Regional Qualifier over the weekend with his Ignister deck. Zohair, do you have any shoutouts before we get into the profile?
Yeah, shout out to Ozone, obviously, best team. Also, shout outs to Lewis and Joe, as well as Noel Court.
Awesome.
Uh,
Alrighty. Well,
yeah,
let's get right into the main deck then. What was your main deck?
yeah. So I played blind second at Ignister. The Ignister core starts off with the following 12 cards. You've got three copies of Achichi on summon. This searches another Ignister monster. Three copies of Picari on summon. This gets you an AI spell or trap. Sign up mining, which just searches for any of the Ignister starters, and then three copies of I Meet You. This card here says you can reveal an add Ignister monster in your main deck or extra deck with 2300 attack, and then you get to search an Ignister name with the same attribute as the card you reveal. And as long as you summon the monster that you revealed, you don't take 2300 damage in the end phase.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, that's the main core of starters. Aside from that, the whole thing that makes the deck work is this field spell right here. Playing three copies of Ignister Island. Um, this card here says that if you don't control any monsters in your main monster zone, then you can special summon an Ignister monster from your hand to your main monster zone. And that's not once per turn, it's once per attribute. So you can summon all the different Ignister attributes once per turn with this card. This is usually summoning like 4 or 5 times minimum in a turn. Um, Aside from that, you've got the secondary Ignister monster names. So you've got Doyon at Ignister. This is usually the third most important Ignister monster after red and yellow. This on summon recurs an Ignister name from grave, and when linked off, recurs an AI speller trap from grave. And then aside from that, you've got Buru at Ignister. This is the Armageddon Knight of the deck. On summon, it sends an Ignister from deck to grave, and when it is used as synchro material for a synchro summon, it revives the other material that was used for the synchro monster. So it usually lets you get the free Wind Pegasus on the field while maintaining the same number of link material you have. And then for the last two Ignister monsters in the deck, I was playing one copy of Hiyari and one copy of Gachiri at Ignister. Hiyari at Ignister is a level 4 lower Ignister monster that can special summon itself without needing the field spell. As long as you control another Ignister name, it can special summon itself to the field.
Mhm.
And it's searchable off of Achichi at Ignister. Um, and Gachiri at Ignister is it's a level 8 or higher Ignister monster, so it can't be searched off of red. But what it does is it lets me target any effect monster that I control, negate its effects, and special summon itself. And if this card leaves the field, then I get to target any of my monsters that I control and make them unaffected by my opponent's card effects until the end of their turn. The reason I went to play both of these cards over Doshin at Ignister, that's the Earth level one that special summons itself with the same condition as this water, is that this water monster, Hiyari, has an effect to tribute one other monster I control and search this card from the deck. And that basically gives the monsters I'm linking into protection from my opponent's hand traps by being able to go into Gachiri. This card's especially important for playing around Nibiru and Valor when you're trying to OTK your opponent.
Awesome.
That's it for the Ignister monsters. Aside from that, we've got three more AI spells and traps. There's Idle Reborn, which is a quick play monster reborn for an Ignister monster, and then Fighting Spirit. This card was just released in Brothers of Legend. This is also a monster reborn for an Ignister monster in your graveyard. It is not a quick play, but because we have two different reborn spells with different names, you can sometimes start your turn with a reborn spell, search special summon yellow, and have yellow grab a second reborn spell to summon another monster. So that's nice. And the final spell card that we're playing in the deck is, or the final AI spell card we're playing in the deck is Eye Contact. This card says that if there's an Ignister Island in your field zone, you can reveal an Ignister Island in your hand, put it to the bottom of the deck, and draw 3 cards. You're already playing 3 copies of Ignister Island as well as Terraforming, and because we're doing that, you sometimes end up with a lot of islands in your hand, especially if you're trying to play through an Imperm or a Veiler or an Ash, and you double search the field spell. So this is nice to keep in your deck to unclog those hands and get access to more resources, especially in grindier games. I think that's it for the archetypal cards. Aside from that, I played, I believe, uh, 15 or 18 going second cards. I can go over that right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I played 3 Godarla, the Mystery Dust Kaiju. I wanted to play a Kaiju in the main deck because it's a really good out to a lot of different cards right now. You can tribute a Sky Striker monster, turn off all their back row, and turn off Ray from recurring yourself. You can tribute the Wind Barrier statue, which is why I played Godarla, although I didn't see it today. Um, you can tribute your opponent's Baron or Chi and trade with that negate in that way. It's especially good if you tribute their Chi because then they're not able to activate Blackout, targeting their Chi to get an additional interrupt on you, which was critically important. I played against Sword Soul 3 rounds today, and this card came up in all 3 matchups. Um, I played 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet. This card's really good across the board. It especially into boards that your opponent makes. Because I was blinding second, I needed high impact board negation that didn't stop me from entering the battle phase and killing my opponent. So I played Forbidden Droplet to like deal with the bird board or to like knock out 2 Sword Soul negates at a time and still have a battle phase to kill my opponent with. Um, Aside from that, for hand traps, I played 3 Gamma and a Driver. I played 3 copies of Impermanence and 3 copies of Ash Blossom. I think these hand traps across the board covered most of my matchups. Droll and Lockbird isn't as good into like the bird match, or not the bird matchup, the Sword Soul matchup or Striker, for example. Um, Neither is DD Crow. I figured these 3 were the most they had the most range to like catch whatever I was playing against
Mm-hmm.
in the tournament, so I preferred to main deck those. And the final 3 cards I played in the main deck were 3 copies of Mystic Mine. I think this card's incredibly good in this deck specifically because you're going second, you can trade with your opponent's negates, and if you drop mine on the board, it's a really good out to like the Scythe Lock, for example. It's a good out to Protos. And another good thing is that it insulates you from hand traps when you're trying to play the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when I was playing against my opponents, I would trade negates with them, activate Mystic Mine, and once I activate Mystic Mine, they're not able to hand trap my normal summon or droll me on the resolution of its effect, or hand trap my Link 1 or and droll on the resolution of that effect. And if you can get that far, you usually have enough cards in your hand to continue and kill, even through a droll. So this card came up a lot. It didn't just help as a pseudo board breaker or game winner, it was also hand trap protection. Because this would just turn into an island once I get my 2 searches done, which are usually the 2 most important searches in the turn.
Okay, awesome.
Um,
Very nice main
yeah.
deck. Now, moving forward, would you change anything with your main deck?
So I think the one change that I'd consider in the main deck is what kind of kaiju I play.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm playing Godarla because I'm scared of the Wind Barrier statue, but I don't think there are too many people playing it right now. And because all the bird players are playing Apex Avian, I think Flunder plays the Wind statue, and I can
Mm-hmm.
sometimes insta lose to that. But having this just means I have a guaranteed out to it. If I played Gamma Seal, that has 2200 attack, and that makes one of my extra cards a little bit better. I can show that in a second.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah. Should I
Awesome.
move to the extra?
Just want to comment that the Mystic Mine, I don't think I've ever heard someone say that Mystic Mine is hand trap protection, and I think that's a really intelligent way of playing that card. Because most people think
Yeah,
that it's, a rather brain dead card to play because you just
yeah.
supposedly activate
I
it and
mean,
then you
like,
win. But sometimes that
yeah, a
can
lot of
happen.
the time when I activate Mystic Mine and I go for when I activate the Mystic Mine and I try and like stall the game out, it doesn't usually go in my favor because there are a lot of players main decking Imperial Order right now,
Yeah.
and I don't have a main deck out to stop it. Um, like this Mystic Mine just means I get to have a chance against Sword Soul going Protoss on Dark against me,
Mhm.
and I also just get to have a chance against PK players side blocking me.
Right.
Um, without this card, I that those matchups are a lot harder because you can't put anything else up,
Right.
and you can potentially lose the game on turn three because of that.
Okay. Gotcha. Awesome. All
Yeah,
right. Well, can we go to the extra deck next?
yeah. Let's go to the extra deck. So I'll show these cards in terms of like the sequence of the combo,
Mhm.
and we can maybe go over the combo after I show all the cards.
Absolutely.
So I played two copies of Dark Infant at Ignister. This is it's the Salamangreat Phalanx for the deck. On summon, it searches Ignister A Island, uh, searches this card. And that's basically how your combo starts. You summon one of your 12 starters, you grab the next monster to continue combo, and then you turn your normal summon into infant, grab the field spell, activate the field spell, and you just start rolling from there.
Mhm.
Second monster you usually summon is Cyber's Wicked. This card is pretty cool. So this when a monster is summoned to Link Zone that this points to, you can banish a Cybers from your grave and add a Cybers tuner from your deck to your hand. So your this searches for Baru at Ignister,
Mhm.
and this is like a third name that you play to keep continuing. The one major thing that's started to come up with this card, especially after Burst of Destiny releasing, is that Cyber's Wicked cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, and um, the monsters it points to, at least the Cyber's monsters it points to, cannot be destroyed by card effects as well. And what that means is that if you have Wicked up and you are summoning monsters under it, you can play through Sword Soul Blackout.
Mhm.
You make all of the cards, you make this unable to be destroyed, and you make the two monsters it points to unable to be destroyed. And so that's something to consider, especially now that Sword Soul is a deck. Uh, this comes up quite a bit. The next card you play is two copies of Splash Mage. This just takes two Cybers monsters, and it targets a Cybers in your grave and it revives it. So this helps you go from two link materials on field to the Splash Mage, and then you special an Ignister from your hand, and you revive an Ignister from your grave. That puts three materials on field for you to continue. Um, it's part of the turn one combo, and it also comes up in the grind game. So I played two of it. Um, and this is where the paths kind of diverge. So going first, uh, you summon Dark Templar at Ignister, and that turns into Arrival Cybers. But the thing is, I didn't summon this card once all weekend.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, people say this is like the Towers deck, and you gotta play against Ignister and deal with the Arrival Cybers. Um, the issue with ending on this turn one, and the reason why I didn't play this deck going first, and I instead opted to blind second the whole weekend, is that you hard lose to the Lurelesque matchup and to Drytron. Because the Lurelesque deck can make two Recital Starling and just crash into your rival Cybers and either win the game because they have Assembled Nightingale or draw the game. And Drytron usually just has exact game by making Boral Sword and Herald of Perfection or Ultimateness, or having another 2000 body and an orange light in hand, because that's usually enough to kill, because that clears the tower and does exact game. Um, What I have been doing this weekend though is summoning Update Jammer and making Update Jammer and a link to or other materials into access code talker. What Update Jammer does is that if it's used as link material for a link summon, it lets the monster that it's linked into attack twice that turn. And so how this deck OTKs is you go Update Jammer and two monsters into access code, and you go Update Jammer Chainlink 1 to make the monster you linked into attack twice, and you go access code targeting Update Jammer to gain 2000 attack. That puts access code at 4300 attack, enabled to attack twice. And access code can banish link monsters from your grave to nuke your opponent's field and let you attack for game. You play two access code talker in this deck specifically, just so that you have the ability to OTK through Nibiru. Your one card starter, along with any other starter, is able to make access code, threaten game with access code, and if you get Nibiru'd, you play the second one just so that you can make the second. Just so that you can make it and still attack for game. I can show those lines in a bit once I show the rest of the extra deck inside.
Yeah, absolutely.
The final cards you played are uh the last sort of flex spots. Transcode Talker is one of the cards that helps you play through Nibiru and or like play through a Veiler because you can make this with any link to an any monster and it can revive a link from your grave. And that's over 4 material to make a 5300 access code. Fire Phoenix is the fire monster you reveal in your extra deck to add Achichi from your deck to your hand, the fire normal summon. You reveal that off I Meet You. Wind Pegasus is the monster you synchro summon off of Bururu to put it on the field and revive another monster. The especially important thing about Wind Pegasus is that once you summon Wind Pegasus, you usually force your opponent to use your back row right then and there, because Wind Pegasus has an effect on the field to destroy spells and traps on the field up to the number of Ad-Ignister monsters you control. And so you can usually nuke up to 2 back row at a time, and that's before you've made Update Jammer, before you've made access code. And so that's usually a really good spot for you because you force your opponent's Veilers and Imperms before you make your game enders. The final 2 cards I played are Link Spider and Security Dragon. These are solely for Nibiru. You make Link Spider if your opponent Nibiru's you, and you get a Nibiru token. This just gets the token out of the main monster zone and lets you keep special summoning with the field spell.
Mm-hmm.
Security Dragon is how you clear your own Nibiru out of the main monster zone. So you can summon your starter, you turn it into infant, you grab your field spell. And before you continue playing, because you still have your Nibiru in the main monster zone, you turn infant and Nibiru into Security Dragon, which is a Cyberse that takes any 2 monsters. And you just link those off. And it lets you keep continuing the game as normal. I think that's it for the extra deck.
Okay, awesome. I have to ask, how often did you get Nibiru'd and then make the second access code throughout this region?
Oh, it happens all the time. I think people think that this deck is super susceptible to Nibiru, but that's only because they're used to just Nibiruing the deck when it goes first and tries to make a rival. If that happens, you get Nibiru, there's no coming back from that. But when you make access code, you're not committing as many resources to making access code
Mm-hmm.
as you are to committing when you make a rival Cyberse. And so you have enough to make a second one, usually if you have any extender. And that's what I did a lot this weekend. I killed people through Nib. It was great.
Awesome. I also have to ask about the Fire Phoenix. Now, since Heat Soul was revealed, would you play Heat Soul over Fire Phoenix once it's out?
So it's definitely a question. I never really summon Fire Phoenix anyway in this deck. It has an effect to burn your opponent if it attacks a monster. And I think that might come up against like really niche decks like Crooked Cook or whatnot. But this isn't really a monster you summon in the first place. So once Heatzel comes out, I could see some people playing it to like get the potential draws, but I really don't think it matters that much because this isn't a monster you're usually summoning.
Okay,
Um,
gotcha.
yeah,
Gosh, alrighty. If you want to, we can move on to the side deck now. Then.
yeah. I think the side deck was pretty straightforward. I played six hand traps that were a lot better in more specialized matchups. Droll is really good into birds and Drytron. DD Crow is really good into Drytron, PK. Um, it's good into a couple other matchups too. I bring this in against Striker because it lets me perma-banish their engage or get rid of their Ray and make sure they don't have follow-up on that. Or like get rid of their Kagari target.
Yeah.
It's usually pretty good value. Um, and then the rest of the extra deck was, or the rest of the side deck for the most part was back row hate. Played three copies of Cosmic, three copies of Lightning Storm, and then one Feather Duster and one Red Reboot. I think these were pretty self-explanatory. I previously, before I entered this regional, I was playing three copies of Evenly Matched,
Hmm.
but Evenly Matched doesn't really work with the deck because you're going second, you need your battle phase to kill them. And if you're giving up your battle phase to evenly match them, the most you can do is end on an Arrival Cyberse. And that's usually not that good in today's meta. I think I mentioned that it's really bad against Drytron and Bird.
Right.
And so I opted to play Lightning Storm instead because that gave me a battle phase. Um, and then the final card I played was Donmari Attignister in the side deck. This card is only played in the turn one combo. It's got an effect that if your opponent attacks an Ignister monster you control, you can special it from your hand and negate the attack. But aside from that, it's really a brick going second because it doesn't advance your game state. You cannot special summon it off the field spell either. And so I just kept it in the side deck for when I knew I was going to go first. I
Okay.
think that's all 15 cards.
That makes sense. Now, would you change anything in the side moving forward? Say, if you were going to a larger tournament or a smaller one?
I think this side deck was pretty clean. I don't feel like I have any changes I'd want to make right now. I think the only change I might consider making is swapping the uh, swapping the Godarlas for Gamma Seals in the main deck, or potentially moving the Kaijus to the side deck and main decking one of the Drolls or DD Crows, depending on how popular birds get. Um, Birds or PK, especially like next format once we get the Brave stuff. But yeah, I was pretty satisfied with today's list. Really neat stuff you can do with this deck.
Yeah.
Really fun to play.
Yeah, it seems like it. Well, again, congratulations on top four. I know you got top 32 at a YCS a few months ago. Honestly, I
Yeah,
hope we see this. I kind of hope we see this. Throughout the rest of this format, in even into next format with Grand Creators coming out. So
yeah, we'll definitely have
congratulations.
to see how it plays with the Brave cards. It's gonna be fun to test.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Alrighty, well, again,
Yeah.
congratulations, and hope to see you soon.